everybody. I'm Ann Harrigan, music director of the Billings Symphony Orchestra. I'm here with our guest artist, Wei Luo, on piano. So excited to have her here in her first time in Montana, I understand. Welcome, Wei.
I'm so happy to be here for the first time.
So you are playing a concerto that I love personally. I requested it. So I want to back up a little bit. I actually met you when you were 18 years old, and we did a performance in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Yes.
The Rachmaninoff Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini.
Yeah.
And I remember you so clearly. It was so much fun to get to know you, and the power and the detail, everything you got out of that piece. But the one thing that cracked me up is afterwards we broadcast for radio. You probably don't even remember this.
I did. You sent me the recording of
Yes.
it by email, and I listened to it. I love it.
Yes, and I said, is there anything you want to change? She's like, nope, it's all good. And it was absolutely a brilliant performance. And so you were actually supposed to be here a couple of years ago. We had you scheduled, and then things happened, and so I'm so glad you were able to come back. But in the meantime, you've been busy. So when COVID hit, you were at Curtis.
Yeah.
And at this point, now you'd been at Curtis for a few years. Were you by yourself? Was your mom with you?
At this point, I graduated from Curtis last year after 10 years.
Yeah.
So I now spend half of the year in Asia, touring and playing solo chamber and concertos, and spend another 5 or 6 months here in the States and doing more new repertoire and doing like Prokofiev with you and many other great people.
No, that's great. And so you were at Curtis when COVID hit.
Yeah.
And the school closed.
Yeah.
And they sent people home.
Yeah, and we started online Zoom
And you
classes.
had to go back to China.
I went back to China with no performing dresses with me. I was like, okay, I canceled so many things. I was so disappointed. I was very sad. And then I was like, okay, I need a long break. Yeah. But I didn't expect so many opportunities in China just started to come up.
It was crazy. I mean, you started a whole series, and you toured all over China several times now, right?
Yes, yes. So with only my solo recital, so it's a Russian program with Mussorgsky, Prokofiev, Tchaikovsky, and Rachmaninoff, which I will be doing it here.
Yes, on
in a
Friday.
couple days. Yes. So that repertoire has toured nearly 30 cities in China.
That's amazing. And you grew up in China, and you came to the United States when you were 13 years old.
Yes.
To study at Curtis.
Yes.
So tell us, for those people, for those of us who are in the music business, the word Curtis just has reverence to it. But explain to our audiences what Curtis is and what it means to be invited to be there as a 13-year-old.
Yeah, so Curtis to me is something very special because when I was younger, I started piano at age 5. But at age 8, I started to listening to all kinds of recordings, including my professor Gary Grafman, Leon Fleischer, Seymour Lipkin, and many other big names. I knew that they all have the tradition from Curtis. And at age 8, I was dreaming maybe one day I can get into Curtis and study there. So at 12, I started my application online. It's the only school that I submitted the form. I said, okay, I gave it a try. If not, okay, I will learn something else. But
you mean you'll stop playing the piano?
No, I will go to some other school. Okay. But yeah, I know it's one of the best
in the world, isn't it?
In the world, yeah. So I tried and I played Ravel La Valse at age 13.
That's insane. I mean, I usually think of Curtis as being for 18-year-olds if you're lucky. And so that's such an accomplishment, and congratulations, of course. But I can't imagine, first of all, knowing at that age that you wanted to do that, and to leave home and to travel to a completely different country to study with, Gary Grafman, one of the most famous pianists in the history of the world.
Yes.
And so that's amazing that you're listening to those recordings. You started at the age of 5.
Yes, at age 5. Because my parents, none of them are musicians. So I'm the only musician in my whole big family. But I love listening to those piano music played in my apartment.
That's amazing. And you have quite a following in China. You do. Now, will they be able to live stream the concert on Saturday?
I have told my fans and my audience, I hope they will join us, but I think there is time difference. Somehow.
I think so. So they'll have to get up in the middle of the night or something to see the concert. So, well, I think it's amazing what you did with that situation where you had to go home and you picked up, and you also have done some things a little bit differently with your recitals, and you've added poetry.
Yes, that was my new favorite thing to do while I'm not performing or traveling. So I love to write down whatever my emotions. Like I always have strong emotions and feelings, but sometimes going on tour alone is not easy. Whenever I have strong emotions, I always write it down as poetry or articles. So I want to see clearly that what I have in mind or fears, is that really fear or is just some obstacle that I can get over. I use that tool to talk to myself.
Talk to yourself.
Yeah.
But you also share these poems in your recitals.
So some are written for myself, but some are dedicated, like the ones I will be sharing with you guys, are dedicated to Prokofiev. So much going on inside, so I write out. And I realized, I actually fall in love so deeply with this composer.
Oh, no kidding. For those of you who may not know the name Prokofiev, you certainly know his music. Everybody knows Peter and the Wolf.
Yeah.
Right. But he was a very interesting and complicated character living in Soviet Russia, which was a very difficult time to live. And his music has, for me, so much personality in it and so much variety. Sometimes there's irony. Sometimes there's pure joy. Sometimes there's these huge, sweeping movements. There's certainly one of them in the concerto. And sometimes
like
it's a
fairy tale like characters, very naive even to me. So yeah, you reminded me I was doing a article in Chinese and I was writing about what Prokofiev personally might be as a person behind all those different characters. Right. Because I was trying so hard to see how can this person be with so many different masks on.
Yes.
But I figured out, okay, he might be everything.
Well, I read something somewhere that talked about in Soviet Russia, you had to be one person outside, right? And then when you closed the door, you were yourself.
Yeah.
And so I sometimes think about some of those spots in the concerto, which are so intimate, where that's when he's closing the door and he's just there with his family. Can you recite some of your poetry about Prokofiev?
Yes, I have some prepared.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So it's a set, but now I want to share this part. So this is about, I wasn't sure what kind of emotion I have towards his piece, so I written this. Listen, white and black keys are whispering. Infinite and finite extensions, they are your imposing arms. My hopelessness bursting the dikes in your dried up ocean. In your remaining breath, I am carefully piecing together your appearance. Separated by the distance of light, I see a complete self. Because of you, I am no longer a meaningless existence. I am no longer a phantom drifting in an unknown country. I am born, I silently declare.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's just so fascinating to me, the poetry. We actually had a student, I remember one of my interns, who wrote a story about Brahms' Second Symphony, and she gave it to me, and I still have it in my score.
Nice.
So I think putting the words to the emotions you feel with music, because the emotions are so powerful and so complicated. But so you've played the Prokofiev third piano concerto. How many piano concertos did Prokofiev write?
5.
5. And so the third might be the most famous, would you say?
Yes, the most welcoming one for the audience, most well known.
And it's one I've done with different people, but when we did the Rachmaninoff Rhapsody and I think Paganini, I think we talked about the Prokofiev after that, but you played it for the first time when you were 11 years old. That just cracks me up, even before you went to Curtis. So, was this something you heard at your house?
Not really. The conductor of the Shanghai Philharmonic Orchestra auditioned me after I got back from some competition, international competition. I won the competition and he got to know me and he was like, I think Prokofiev's third concerto suits you well. Can you learn this in, I think, 1 month and a half?
No.
I wasn't kidding. It was like during summer. Luckily, I didn't have school. So I was practicing like crazy at home. And I nailed it.
Well, of course you did, but that's insane. This is the most insanely difficult piece for the orchestra and the audience. I think at the beginning as this perpetual motion. It just races, and it kind of flies up like a bird to me, and it explodes into confetti, you know what I mean? And it goes down like that.
Sparks and fireworks.
Yes, it's like fireworks, that's right. And so that must have been so much fun, frankly, as an 11-year-old to play.
And it was the season opening concert in Shanghai, and I remember it was a full house, like 1,500 people, and I didn't remember I was nervous or not. I was just so bold and excited and walking on stage and bold and that was
my
crazy.
goodness.
Now
So-
I think of it.
So do you keep up with that conductor still?
Yes, yes,
I bet he's very proud of you.
yes. I hope so.
I'm sure of it. I'm sure he's thinking, wow, was that your first concerto?
Yeah, first concerto I did with orchestra.
So yeah, he got that honor, and
Yeah.
so I'm lucky because we get to have you, kind of on the way up, but we did get you when you were 11 now. So
But I always think you are one of my role models because I remember when I was 18, I got to know you, and I remember how you are so loved by so many people, by the audience, by the orchestra, by the committees of the orchestra, and by artists. I think, and by your family. I think you are perfect in every job. So I think that's not easy
Thank
as
you.
artist, because now I'm growing up. I realize so many things need to be balanced, and it's not an easy job.
Well, that's true. There is that, but it can be done. So, and there's joy in that too. So, but you're already doing that because you're branching out into poetry and into different countries.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Well, thank you for that. I'm very honored to hear that. It's exciting to see. Before you performed here, you actually went back to Asia and you performed the Prokofiev Third Piano Concerto 2 times, and we've actually got some clips, I think, of you on our website.
Yeah.
And so it was fun to be able to hear it and hear the personality that you add to it. But talk to us a little bit. Obviously, with your poetry, you've really thought about it. Talk to us in words. If somebody hasn't heard the piece, as they listen to it, what do you hear in the different sections?
I think this piece, at first, it can be complex because there are so many notes going on for a pianist, and also maybe for the audience who listen to this for the first time. But after we hear the beautiful melody played by the clarinet, we get into the world of Prokofiev, which we can hear many different characters. Development section of first movement is a fugue.
Yes.
We can hear like step by step how Prokofiev built up the emotion and the tension from me and with you, and then we come back to the theme, which I just come out.
Yeah.
And then after that is a combination of all those showy passages and glissando and stuff. The second movement is even more interesting. It's a variation.
Yes.
And we start with the minuet, very cute one, and we have so many different characters. Some are robust, some are dreamy, and some are very military-like, I feel.
Yes.
Yeah. And so people can imagine different things in this movement. And the third movement is interesting to start with a waltz, 3-beat dance actually.
Yes.
And then we hear this main theme for 3 times. And maybe the audience will notice every time we comes back to the theme, it has different feeling and different tempo towards the main theme, and people will enjoy the different pause through the whole piece. And we have the second theme, bang, 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 that very sarcastic,
Yes.
joking and poking fun. Yeah. That's very Prokofiev.
It is. That's that sort of irony. And Prokofiev had to navigate the Soviet Union, of course, which was very difficult. His colleague Shostakovich had a more difficult time with it. He ended up leaving Russia. Prokofiev was able to walk that tightrope of being an artist at that time, which is a very difficult time. But he had this humor, and this irony, this a little bit dark, humor. But one of my favorite moments is the big sweeping moment with the cellos, where it reminds
that's
me
the
of
section after that.
Yes.
It's very romantic.
Very romantic. It reminds me of Romeo and Juliet, and the balcony scene, the love scene there.
Yeah,
so,
and my scales coming down
yes.
with the melody is like snow falls down in winter. So it's very nice section.
Like snow falls down in winter. I like that. So I just love that he can have these 2 personalities, coming out and just show his complexity. And this is where I love orchestral music and orchestral music with piano, because of all of the colors and the brilliance that Prokofiev, he's able to write all this down. And it's almost like magic if you think about it. You look at this music, and it only has so much information in it. Do you know what I mean? You have to intuit. You have to feel it. Some of it is listening. Some of it is just spending time with the music, studying Prokofiev. And so you take something, it's just like reading,
Yeah.
and bringing life to the reading. But that's what's fun. And I've heard the performances you did in China. They're brilliant performances, but each one had a different personality.
Yes, every time I do some places differently according to the emotions on that day.
Right, exactly, and connecting with the orchestra.
Yeah.
So you've done this piece quite a bit. You've done the Russian romantic repertoire, but you also did Rhapsody in Blue last week.
Yes, that's a really fun experience. And I was writing actually before I perform about the jazz era and
Yes.
talking about the Great Gatsby and the art was producing around that time. And Langston Hughes, his jazz
Yes.
poetry, and I learned everything about that. And
Oh,
I realized
fantastic.
what a colorful time it was.
It was fantastic. So what's on your bucket list for recital repertoire or concerto repertoire? I mean, if you were to get a phone call, today, what would be the piece of music that you would love to play that you don't know?
Let me think. I really want to do the Schumann concerto.
Interesting.
I listened to this many times, but I haven't done it myself. I did many Schumann pieces when I was younger, and I love how personal it gets.
It does. Well, I mean, Schumann struggled with mental illness, but it's very intimate, and it's got a lot of depth of feeling.
Yeah.
But you have to really bring it out because he doesn't give you the flash. Like Prokofiev gives you these big moments, right?
Or Rachmaninoff.
Yeah, Rachmaninoff, right? It's kind of all out there.
Yeah.
And with Schumann, you really have to bring that yourself, and that's really interesting. So that's definitely a great piece, and I'm sure that you would play the heck out of it. That's for sure. And so somebody who's listening to this is going to call you.
Great.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. So what's on the docket for you now? We'll finish here, and you'll be off back to Philadelphia?
Yes, I will be back to Philadelphia and prepare for Prokofiev's second piano concerto and Ravel G major, another beautiful
Oh,
one.
it's a great
the second movement.
I love that piece so much. That's great. And then are you going back to Asia?
And then I have my immersive exhibition in Manhattan based on my poetry. And
right.
yes, the one I was sharing with you last year.
Yes.
But this April, late April, it finally come true in Manhattan. The gallery is named The Blank, and we have cooperated with modern dancer and like 3D visual artist and installation artist. We together put on a show that maybe you are invited and you walk into the place and you feel and you see Prokofiev
That sounds
in different
fantastic.
dimensions, not only just
Really
hearing
amazing.
it.
Well, that's very popular these days, is immersive.
Yeah.
These, it's kind of engaging all of the senses. That's great that you've tackled that. The images, are they your images?
I actually not creating like directly, but I tell the artist, we negotiate together like what I see from my
Okay.
poetry. So we have a lot of meetings and talks and
I bet.
brainstorming.
Oh, she must love that. Do you play for her?
Yes, I play in the space. We have a piano there, and the dancer will improvise based
Yes.
on whatever I play. Clips from Prokofiev's music.
Well, I think that Prokofiev would be very pleased.
That's how much I love about his music.
Yes. And I think he'd be incredibly honored, if somebody would have said to him, do you know that, X years from now, there's this incredibly talented young woman who loves your music so much that she's doing that. I think he would just be absolutely tickled pink. So I think that's really wonderful. And I can't wait to see what other inventive ideas that you have and what the future holds for you. It's just so exciting.
Thank you.
So then after that, you go back to Asia?
Yes, I go back to Asia in early May, and I will prepare for Rachmaninoff the first concerto and third concerto,
Okay.
which I will be performing a lot later this year. And a
Yes.
solo tour again.
The third concerto was great. So, well, if you kind of look back and look forward, I mean, I'm sure you're asked this all the time, but 10 years from now, what would be you envisioning where you might be or what you'd be doing?
It's such a hard question because I usually don't think that far since so many schedules have been messed
COVID,
up.
right? Yeah.
Okay, so we will just go and see, but I hope I will still love music as much as I do right now and love art and be put together by art as a person.
Oh, that's wonderful. Do you have any advice for a young aspiring musician, whether it's an instrumentalist or a pianist, You know, what would you say to your 11-year-old self?
I would say don't be discouraged if there are difficulties. Trust in music. It's worth everything you put in. Yeah, music pays back, and you feel so happy when you really love music. It will love you back.
Well, we are very grateful for your passion and your hard work, and I know that the Billing audiences will love you, and we'll have our, international audiences also enjoying this performance. And I hope that you have a really fun week here in Billings, and I hope you get to see a few mountains.
I hope so.
At it.
Yellowstone Mountains.
Yes, we're going to get you out to see the crazies, I think, and we'll get you out there a little bit so you can enjoy some. But thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. And once again, this is Wei Luo. I'm Ann Harrigan, and this is Big Sky Sounds with the Billings Symphony.